Hello everybody and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will, I'm a D&D sex icon, and I'm back today with yet another episode of Game of Thrones War of the Roses. So let's get into it, my friends. Let's go around the cast and crew, let's figure out who we are, and of course, who we're going to be playing tonight. And let's begin next to me with Jen Dreamwisp. How is it going, my friend?
Hello, I'm doing fine, thanks. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm excited to get into today's game and for terrible things to happen again.
It's true. Terrible things have happened. Terrible things will happen. I cannot wait to see what terrible things you have in store for us.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about who you're going to be playing tonight as well.
Absolutely. I am playing Devon Rain. Devon is a teenage boy who is now a defector from the Night's Watch, but a former member of the Night's Watch, currently hanging out with the McNairs.
Absolutely. Indeed. The ferret people of the North. Is it ferrets? It's ferrets, right? No. It's
Stoats.
Stoats. That's it. That's it. Oh, man. I have sinned. Joseph, how's it going, my friend? Good to see you.
Spirits, but you know, life goes on, and the terrible things shall occur. I'm Joseph. I'll be playing Cicero McNair, who is the first son of the McNair household, going off with his posse, his newfound group of friends, to fight, quote unquote, or to meet Michael Blackwood and his family.
The Freudian slip there, yes. We're there to meet them. It's going to be a wild time, I'm sure. We have Steel Rain back with us tonight. Steel, how's it going, my friend?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to playing Squire Reinhardt again and being instructed in the art of becoming a knight.
Oh, so many instructions will come flying at the Squire. I can already feel it. But I'm playing Sir Cyril Price. He's a landed knight who's been given a little bit of land to occupy, and I have some training that we've done now. Like Cicero has said, we're out in a posse doing recon, and we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely, yes. Simple recon mission. What could go wrong? With friends like these, we have, of course, Bird versus playing with us tonight. Bird, how's it going, my friend?
It's going fantastic. I have been praying to the Mother all day to have mercy on my internet connection, and I think it's working great, actually. So I'm really excited for tonight.
Great stuff.
I'm going to be playing Septon Birch, who is a holy man of the Seven, who is far from home and relatively out of his comfort zone, and now off into the woods where he has had a relatively negative experience recently. So it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. Yes. And speaking of that, Lady Purple has given the Septon a wild magic surge, which we'll get to here in a minute, I'm sure. Before we dive into the game, before I give you guys a quick recap as well, I'll remind you guys really quickly that we are sponsored today by FancyGrounds.com, our virtual tabletop of choice. Go to Fancy Grounds, check out their demo license free, and play your own virtual tabletop games at home with your friends. Then, of course, WhalenGames.co.uk is a go-to destination for Dungeons & Dragons minis, D&D board games, and role-playing games as well. So check them out at up to 20% off the retail value. Last but not least, TabletopLoot.com is the place to go to win yourself sets of dice or buy them for yourself in your home game. Treat your dungeon master this week or your friend with a set of tabletop loot dice and be a good person. Or just wait to win one in the giveaway at the end of tonight's show. You guys can, of course, interact with today's game by giving players Nat 1s, Nat 20s, Wild Magic Surges, and Leroy Jenkins as per the donations. Again, thank you, Mr. Pokey, who's arranged some mischief with me in private, which is yet to find the party. And of course, you haven't retweeted this tweet, go ahead and do so. 20 retweets, you guys get to have some fun and help the party out a little bit. And we're just 2 steps away from another viewer decision as well. But I'm going to get into a quick recap as to what happened last week on the show, because it's been one whole week, 7 days, which means that probably we've forgotten everything which has happened. But luckily for you guys, I am here to remind you. So the party started out at McNair Hall, and there was a great feast happening because Benjamin Stark and a bunch of rangers from the north on the wall were coming to visit, including one Devon Rain, who was with them as well. Now, at this great feast, there was, of course, Cicero McNair with his friend Kaylee, and, of course, Sir Cyril Price arrived with his squire, Roynard, and, of course, Septon Birch was there as well, safe, for now at least, under the protection of the Lord of the Hall, Sir Brian McNair. Now, everything was going well. Cicero looked to be betrothed. People were drinking, having a good time, when a rival house and a young upstart named Michael Blackwood came in, egregiously offended at having not been invited to this feast himself, which, of course, was going to be unlikely in the first place because the man is a bastard. But he was pretty upset and threw down the gauntlet towards the rest of the party, and indeed all of House McNair, to prove their worth. And so Sir Brian, Cicero's father, has entrusted this mission to Cicero and his friends in order to go and compete in a competition next week in the Blackwood Hall, and to bring some kind of honor to their family without escalating this situation into some kind of war, which would be bad for everyone. Luckily for the party, they had the training of Sir Cyril Price on their side. And as they spent the evening in the wet and windy field, learning how to become knights and training themselves for the joust, the marksmanship, and the swordsmanship competition, they heard word from their master-at-arms that a unit of scouts who had gone into the Blackwood territories and environs to find out what was going on had gone missing, and none of them had reported in. This was deeply concerning to the party because the fates of these scouts, well, they need to know exactly what's been going on and to see if the Blackwoods are playing fair. They suspect that they might not be. As things stand, the party are riding out into the night to the woods to find the lost scouts, and everything will be fine. We're going to kick things off, first of all, with that Wild Magic Surge for Septon Birch. So that is a D10,000 Wild Magic Surge. Wow. Which is a big old roll. And I'll put that up. There we go. Perfect. Ooh, nice. 8,078 to kick things off. So you guys are riding through the woods. It's wet. It is windy. And there is low visibility in the woods as Andoran, the Master-at-Arms, along with the party in tow, are thundering through the woods searching for the scouts. Oh, this is interesting. A deafening cacophony blares from the target point until sunset. We'll take this as an omen that either the Seven are watching or are not watching over, as a storm hits in the middle of the night. You guys have been riding for a few hours. It had cleared up mostly for the rain, but then it began to come in heavy droves, very oppressive as crackles of lightning and thunder roar overhead. The torches that you're carrying with you on the horses are about enough to see just in front of you, but the blackened and dark woods around Blackwood Hall are treacherous at best, and it's very easy for a horse to break a leg or twist an ankle in such terrain, especially not being able to see anything. You could quite easily run into a tree and break your neck. But to kick things off, as you're riding along in this small cavalry contingent, let's go around and let's remind ourselves of what you guys look like. So let's start in reverse with Septon Birch. So Septon Birch, what do you look like right now?
So Septon Birch is about 6 foot tall, has a bit of a paunch, a bit of a belly, bald head, but a speckled gray and white beard. And with this continuing storm now coming down, and whether it be in his own mind or in reality seemingly coming down the hardest on him, he is just trying to stay as wrapped up in his holy robes as possible. He is trying to stay warm, trying to stay dry. But beyond all that, he is just glaring out into these woods just with sharp, suspicious eyes. The further that they travel, seemingly the more tense he becomes, and the little bit more nervous and cautious he appears. Where at first he may have been telling some stories just to pass the time, making light conversation, now very quiet, very intense glare on his face.
Interesting. And what about Sir Cyril, who I'm imagining is not having a good time in this weather?
Very bad time. Very bad time for Cyril. On horseback, our eyes are darting around in a mad panic as the torrential downpours continue keeping on. At this point, his cape that would have been draped off his back is now up around his shoulders, almost like a shawl type scarf to try and keep water from going in his neck. His head is covered with the top bit, and he is surveying their position right now. He wants to get off the road and as high up as he can get. And almost at this point, the horse is starting to swerve as he's looking back and forth, and he's moving his hips and he's pressing his leg up against the horse, which is bad horsemanship because he's swerving back and forth. He's not even paying attention to the horse anymore, trying just to find a ideal terrain.
Okay, cool. And Cicero, what does Cicero look like right now next to the nervous-looking Septim Birch and the scouting Sir Cyril?
Let's see. Cicero, in contrast, looks a little bit calmer. He's definitely pretty comfortable on horseback, with just kind of a more focused look in his eyes. He's got, I guess, kind of a gray suit on, something more commonplace than he would usually wear. And a cape kind of draped over his left shoulder. He's gripping the reins with his right hand, but his left hand is probably resting on his sword as they ride through the woods. It's kind of concealed under the cape. But he's just also looking around, kind of very determined in his motivation. But yeah, he's thinking about trying to get people to hold on for a minute, because this weather is definitely not favorable for traveling on horseback.
Certainly not. This is getting dangerous with the storm at this point, in the heavy armor and the low visibility. Excellent. And then last but not least, what does Devon Rain look like right now?
Devon is more comfortable in this weather than he was in the wet at the wall, which was much colder. This is cold rain, but that is nothing compared to the icy snow that was fairly constant further north. So Devon, although a bit uncomfortable, isn't too out of sorts in this weather. And he's fairly comfortable on a horse as well.
Cool.
So he's looking around and staying alert, but also observing the newfound folks with whom he's traveling.
Right. So Andoran, the rough master at arms, who has been sent himself on this mission, and you guys have sort of tagged along because he's quite brash and really wanted to know what was going on. He's got a long-lasting grudge against the Blackwood family, which you get the sense is personal. It's more than just like a professional grudge. There's something personal there for him as he kind of rides on. And yeah, after a while, it's been several hours in this horrible terrain. He kind of calls for a halt and stops, turns to Cicero and says, we're not going to find anything in this weather. Blasted rain. The gods cursed us tonight. What do you suggest, my lord?
We should at least stop, make camp if we can, find some ground that's somewhat dry. Horses aren't going to fare too well in this weather if we keep going.
Aye. And he notices Sir Cyril, who is sort of looking for that higher ground. Cyril, you've spotted through the darkness with like an illumination from a crash of lightning that there is a small hill amongst these woods that you could probably find again when it goes darker, and make some kind of camp there as well. And he kind of catches your eye and says, "You think that would be a good enough spot, Sir Cyril?"
Yes, I do believe that spot would be adequate. Should the river burst its banks, or a dam break, we will be adequately high enough the deluge of water to remain safe. We might want to think about building a raft.
He kind of like takes that almost like a joke. Like it's raining so much that you must be making, making light of it, and gruffly nods and starts bringing there's like 5 other soldiers with him right now in the group of you, and they begin to kind of set up some watery and wet tents, try to stoke a little bit of a fire, but nothing is really going to get going in this kind of weather. The atmosphere is pretty glum and dull over the next hour or so as they begin to kind of like take some watches. Andoran, he's going to take the first watch and kind of stare out from this hill into the dark woods, searching still for his lost scouts. What are you guys up to?
Well, Cicero is going to find his own kind of spot and tie his horse up to a tree, give it whatever he can just to kind of feed it, give it a little snack so that it's not as miserable, and then just kind of finds a seat, leans up against the tree, and just kind of like he sits and pulls his cape over himself and just kind of massages his hands together. Understandably, they're probably cramped from the ride.
Cyril moves throughout the woods, attempting to find as long of pieces of downed wood that he can. He doesn't want to use his sword to try and chop trees. And he begins to construct a fairly decent lean-to, one of which you could, at the minimum, sit cross-legged beneath and have headroom. He's done this many times before. It's not a haphazardly type operation. There's leaves on the top. On top of the leaves, he has placed his cape for further insulation. And he begins to make trying to start just a small fire in front in the attempt to both keep himself slightly warm and dry, at the very least, his gloves. He's taken all of the gear off of the horse, the saddlebags, anything else, the blanket, bridle is all tucked away, safe and some relatively drier than if it were to be left near the horse out in the open. But still the eyes are darting around the dark wood, not for dangers, but for flooding.
Devin will help you out. He'll come over and also start setting up camp, which is something I know how to do fairly well. It's something they train you in at the wall, because there is so much. There are so many expeditions that go out, and Devin is a little bit clumsy at this, but can lend a hand for sure.
Okay.
And Septon Birch, I think, would also try to join in and help out. He's not very strong, he's not very coordinated, but he definitely wants to make this as safe as possible, as soon as possible. So he's there, trying to assist, but every once in a while, you catch him a little distracted, looking around, but strangely even looking at the ground, taking his staff and kind of patting around every once in a while as if searching for something. He just seems incredibly uncomfortable being stuck out here in the woods tonight.
As we put Devin gonna start telling some sort of bawdy tales, trying to make everybody laugh and raise their spirits. Tell you a little bit about my girl back home, the one that got me in trouble.
The soldiers like that. this kind of campfire talk is the the bawdy talk of Northern soldiers that they would enjoy. So there's definitely a group there, I think, a small huddle, who are staying awake despite the rain and the colds to hear a tale that would make them laugh or make them think of their own sweethearts from across the realms. So Cyril, I would like you to make us, I believe, the first roll of the game. As you're out and about. I'd like you to roll me an awareness check. Now, so the way that this game works is you have a rating in each ability, and your rating higher and lower depends how good or bad you are or something. So if you have 4 in awareness, which you, I believe, do, you roll 4d6. And the basic premise is you roll the amount of d6 that you have the rating in, and you try and roll as high as possible against a DC, very similarly to D&D. So basically just roll 4d6. On Fantasy Grounds, you can do that in a couple of ways. You can just, I mean, the command is /die space 4d6. Actually copy it. I'll do it out here for you, and you can copy that and throw that in there. Or you can just pick up one of the d6 and throw it into the dice tray, and you could do that 4 times. Or you could... There's a bunch of ways. Well, there you go.
There we go.
A 16 is pretty damn good, actually. So it's about... it's quite a way through the night by the time that the party... You're some way through your tale, I think, at this point, Devrin. You've gotten a good few laughs out of it. A little following at this point, when Sir Cyril, who is on the lookout for any kind of water-based tragedy, catches something out in the woods. And that something that you spot, Sir Cyril, is a torch. There's a torch, a flickering torch, in the not too far distance from where you are. It certainly couldn't be one of your soldiers, and it's deep into the woods as you're collecting logs and the like.
How far away am I from the group?
You're within earshot, within shouting over the noise of the rain, and they would be able to hear a call.
And the only thing I can see is a torch. I can't make out any figure holding it. Okay.
Not from this distance. You know that there must be someone on it, and by the size, or the height of it, they're not mounted. There's someone on foot.
On foot. Keeping my eyes on the torch, I start to make my way backwards through the woods, heading towards the sound of the group. Being very careful about my footfalls, trying to stay low, and still carrying the sticks I have collected. And when I come back, I start making a hand motion to bring the chatter down, put my finger up to my lip, and I make a move with my hands to show my eyes flame that way to the group, so that everyone is stopped and watching.
Yeah, Cicero is up on his feet, sword drawn, eyes to Sir Cyril to see what he wants to do next.
The Septon kind of clenches his staff a little bit, and I think maybe if he's close enough, reaches over and gives Devrin, in the midst of another body tail, just a little tap with the staff to, hey, just as a heads up to hush.
Right.
And Devrin immediately gets quiet and sort of ducks a little bit into the shadows and gets ready for whatever might be coming.
How many people are in our group right now?
I believe there are 10 of you, including Squire Roynard.
5 soldiers, the Master-at-Arms, and the 5 of us, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So 11.
So 11, yeah.
Cicero.
Oh, no, 12.
I believe it would be best to take half of our force to investigate this light. It appeared as if it was one person on foot, not mounted, but I cannot tell if there were others with them.
We should send a scouting party. I do not believe I was detected in the sound of the rain and the wind. I don't believe allowed that light source to hear the revelry. But this could be Blackwood's.
Very good. Cicero motions to Sir Andrin. And whichever two guards are just kind of standing closest to Sir Andrin as well. And this is, let's go. And nods to the Septon, and Devon just says, you stay here with the rest of them. It'll keep you safe. Let's hope there's not anything else out in these woods this late at night.
Devon sort of looks at you. Sure you don't want me to go with you?
I saw you train. I think for now it's best you stay here.
Right. Be careful.
Yes, young lord, remember, it could be anything out there.
I believe that. Let's go find out what it is.
Andrin is already kind of trudging down the wet and muddy hill. As you get down there with him, the two of you will spot the torch that Sir Cyril had mentioned to you. You see it fall to the ground in the distance and onto the floor. And Andron kind of looks back. Could be someone injured.
Cicero just motions with his hand as kind of an indication to just move faster towards it.
Yeah, wordlessly, Andron and a group of you step in to the scene. And it's a little bit of a clearing that you step into. Still wet, and it's gotten to the point of wetness where you're almost like trudging through water at this point. Every step is a puddle. Your boots are probably getting filled with water unless you strap them in well. And you spot lying on the ground the torch, first of all, as the visibility here is really very low with the biting wind and rain coming down through the forest. And then you see a body next to the torch. This body has 2 arrows placed into the back, one sort of just below the neck, which you'd imagine is fatal, if not near fatal blow, and one which has lodged itself deeply into the shoulder of the man. He is face down in the dirt and wears the chain and colours of House McNair.
Just by looking at the wounds, have they been bleeding a lot? Like, did he get these a while ago?
You would say that they are recent. Somewhere within the last 12 hours is probably the closest that you could put it without getting really close.
Just not shot down right there, so it's not like worrying about archers.
He didn't literally just die. Gotcha. It looks like he collapsed from the wounds, and Andrin kind of curses under his breath as he sees the dead scout, and he will go to turn over the body of the man. He curses again. Yep, that's one of our lads. And he turns furious eyes back to you, Cicero.
My apologies. Should have come sooner, I suppose. Just for like a quick reference, how many other scouts were there? Was it just the 2?
There was pretty much a contingent of them, so that's 12, I believe. 12 scouts were sent out. Okay.
We have to wait out the storm, Sir Andrew. Then we can make for the Blackwood lands. We can see if our other men are still alive.
That's what you want to do. Just wait to see if they're dead. While our boys are being murdered in the woods.
Going on at this point could mean our deaths.
He points at the dead man. Says, "That's Dareth right there. I knew his father. He's a good man. I'm not just gonna wait. If there are more of them out there, I'm gonna find them. Begging your pardon, my lord." It looks like the two soldiers are in agreement in that as well. At least they seem loyal to Andoran in that regard.
So Cyril, you know brotherhood. You know what it's like to fight beside men. And you know tactics. Would you, on behalf of emotion, rush into something that, judging from the looks of this, could surely be a trap?
I also know following orders. And Cyril shoots a look over to the two soldiers. Cicero would be the ranking officer here if this were an army. He is also your lord. If Cicero says we are going, then we are going. If Cicero says we are not, then we do not. Anyone who goes against his word would be a traitor, and treasonous actions will be chopped down with my mighty sword. To answer your question... To answer your question, Cicero, no, I would not hastily ride into battle in the black of night where we cannot see more than 5 feet before our eyes. The Blackwood's territory they will know far better than we. We should try and track where this man came from. Although the ground might be boggy, footsteps should last longer, as their impressions will be held.
So Cyril, I would like you to roll me a persuasion check with your intimidate speciality. So, the other thing about this game is that not only do you have your base characteristic, which is Persuasion 2, but within that characteristic you have like subcategories, so Intimidate and Charm and Seduce, that kind of thing. So you have 2 bonus dice in Intimidate, which means that you roll 4 dice and you take the highest 2. So it's almost like an advantage mechanic from 5e.
So I'm rolling 4d4?
Yeah, 46, and we
46.
take the 2 highest dice,
2.
yeah.
Not very good.
So that's 8 altogether. They definitely hear your words, and there's definitely a couple of looks between the 2 of them, and then back to Andoran. Andoran himself does not seem swayed in the least by this. He is mumbling something under his breath about being loyal to Sir Brian and not to his pup. And the 2 soldiers, after that brief tense moment, stay with Andoran. And he says, "I'll leave you to it, little lord. We're going to go and find our men and what's happened to them. Because we care." And with that, it seems like he is trudging further into the woods. The other soldiers, the other 3, are left behind at the camp, but he doesn't seem to care about bringing them with him. He's just walking on foot into the woods. And you can see this sort of rage has overtaken him. And there's something in that rage which is more than just the rage that you've seen Andoran have in the past. There's clearly something personal about this which is affecting him. But he is walking away, and he does not look like he's going to look back.
Sir Cyril draws his sword
Cicero
and starts to head after him.
No, Cicero puts his hand up and just kind of places it on his shoulder. Let him go. Need not shed any more blood tonight. But I do hope we don't count him among the dead when we get to the Blackwood lands.
Just know, young lord, you must rule with an iron fist. Weakness will be used against you. One of your men just deserted, and now there is a show. There is no recompense or desertion. I hope at least if he makes it home alive, there will be a public display of punishment. And Sir Cyril sheaths his sword and walks back to the rest of the group.
What did you find?
Cicero follows, just kind of looks back at the body of the fallen soldier and just shakes his head as he's walking back.
What was there?
One of the scouts shot down. Don't know if he... Surely Blackwood's. Don't know if he escaped and he was hit while running, or if he was sent as a message. Either
Any
way.
other wounds on him? Are you sure it was the arrows that took him down? Are you sure it was?
There were 2 arrows. One towards the back of the neck, the other in his back as well. It looked like it was a fleeing attack, and he died where he collapsed. Most certainly the arrows are what has done this man.
And Septon nods at this. Is the body close by? Like, how far away is this body?
You could walk down the hill to see the body. The torch is still kind of like sputtering.
Yeah, the Septon hears these words. Like, you can tell they register, and he nods at you, but he still turns to go basically check out the body, to kind of do a full examination as a medical expert, kind of get the entire feel for what was there, see if there was any other injuries or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, turning the man over onto his front as Andron has, you can see this man was probably in his late 20s and had sustained injuries before on like a medical examination. He's clearly been in fights, broken nose, broken fingers from the past, probably broken arm or a leg here or there. But it is most definitely the 2 wounds, the arrows in his back that killed him. It looks like there was a struggle as well, because he has defensive wounds on his arms from like a dagger or a sword, maybe like a short sword, where he's used his arm to block. But that wasn't what killed him. So presumably he was in some kind of fight. Didn't have a chance to draw his sword because it's still scabbarded, sheathed at his hip. Was surprised, turned and ran, and was shot. But made it far enough where he didn't die immediately from those wounds.
He'll kind of, again, nod his head, almost let out a breath of relief, and return to the party.
Cicero looks to the remaining soldiers that are with the group. Just kind of walks over to them and begins to speak. Sir Andron has left to go find the rest of the men. You should know that one of your brothers lies over there with 2 arrows in his back. If you should expect to leave and follow Sir Andron, you're more than welcome to. I understand your sworn duty to your higher ranking officers. But as Sir Cyril pointed out to him, I am your highest ranking officer. I would command you to stay here. Sir Andoran will receive punishment if he is to live. But until that point, I'll leave you with the thought of going up against the Blackwoods alone, and point out that I said if Sir Andoran is to live. These are not men. Yeah, these are not men worth trifling with. And
They turn a little pale.
In smaller numbers.
You could roll me, Mr. Cicero, either a persuasion or I take a status here as well, and that status is basically just the ability to pull rank and say,
okay,
I am the Lord.
Alright.
Whichever one's higher, really.
Yeah, I've got 5 for status, so it's going to be that one.
Right, so you can roll his 5d6.
Let's see, it's /die 5d6.
All right. So, yeah, this is the moment where they just kind of like flush pale, and kind of gulp a little bit, and one of them, kind of like their heads sort of downcast, are like, "Oh, of course we follow you, my lord," and they pretty quickly shut up. And one of them will ask you what you'd like them to do with the body of Dareth, who is the scout who died.
You know what faith he belonged to. Someone should say the rights.
The old gods. Sense Birch like
This was my chance.
Sorry, Captain.
It's okay. It's okay.
So, Devrin will begin to say the rights of the old gods, as he knows them, to put this man's soul to rest.
Yep. There's a somber, and these are pretty sort of minimalist affairs. Any kind of northern funerals, not much pomp or ceremony, and they will bury him somewhere near this hill. Leaving you guys
ranking insignia or anything we could bring back. We had family.
Yeah. Like there's the equivalent of dog tags, which is pretty much just like a house symbol that he'd wear around his neck. So it's a little piece of like bent iron that probably Kaylee's father made. So you could snap that off and bring that back as evidence.
I will take that to return back to his family or whomever it belongs. Whomever was his next of kin. And his name was Dareth?
Dareth, yeah.
Other than that, Cicero just takes, if he's got a dagger on him, or even just the hilt of his sword, and finds the tree closest to where they buried him and scratches kind of a half crescent into it, which is going to be kind of like the tooth of a stoat, red-fanged stoat.
Nice.
And just gives kind of repeats the solemn prayers to the old gods, and heads back towards the base camp.
Yeah. The 3 soldiers who are left remain on watch for you guys over the course of the night, and seem like they've been scared into shape enough where you could tell them whatever you wanted to. There's no sign of Andoran or any other activity during the night. Was there anything else that anyone would like to do tonight before the storm kind of breaks and morning comes.
Yeah, I'll go over to Cicero and I'll say, we have to take care of him.
I know. He's been loyal, but emotion overtakes even the strongest men. He just breathes out a sigh, and like his brow is pushed together. He is trying to think of a way that he can maintain Sir Anderin and maintain his honor and still give some kind of message to say, you messed up.
I wasn't talking about him. And Devin walks away.
One of the guards would approach you at some point during the night, Cicero, and he will say, "My lord, I don't mean to speak out of place, but I believe that Sir Anderin, he is concerned in particular about one of the scouts who went missing. I don't mean to cast rumors around, my lord, but some of the men say that he has a bastard son. One of the scouts."
Certainly yields some explanation, but it's no excuse. We make for Blackwood lands as soon as we can.
Yes, my lord.
As soon as the rain lightens up.
Yeah, probably just gives you the house words as a as a greeting and a farewell. We hold our home, and he'll head back to his watch. Unless there's anything else. Good.
Actually, Septon Birch will approach Devrin at some point in the midst of the night, and kind of approach you very slowly and solemnly, but just say, "It's a good thing what you did back there, boy. The words and all. I've been speaking to old Josie back at the house, but I haven't learned the proper northern words yet. Thank you for leading us in that truthfully. Thank you."
What I hoped someone would do for me.
No one should go into that next life alone.
I'd agree.
Tell me, how long have you been at the wall before you joined us here?
A time.
That's
Over a year, I think.
and in that time, rumors down south, they spread sometimes. Even the children's tales gain a little credence here and there. Everything okay? Any breaches from the wildlings or
No,
anything
it's been
beyond?
fairly standard from what I understand. They've been the standard expeditions going out, typical training. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. Why? What have you heard?
He will look around for a moment. Is there anyone like relatively close by to us, or can we be off a ways a little bit?
You can certainly be off on your own.
Okay. He kind of looks around for a second before looking back to Devrin. You know, my journey here wasn't as smooth as it was supposed to be. In fact, it was an abject disaster. We, small retinue of men and I were attacked in the midst of the night, and I assumed it now, knowing the relationship between the McNairs and the Blackwoods, it could just be them, but something still doesn't sit right about it. It doesn't sit right at all. So, just putting my mind to ease is all. And he gives you just a bit of a smile.
What was odd about it?
I told Lord
It's all
Brian
right,
about
you can
this,
tell me.
and he laughed. Someone came for us in the middle of the night. Someone. Or something. I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is the men sent to protect me died nearly instantly. Rumors are rumors. I just needed to be able to rest a little easier tonight. And being back out here, I'm sure my mind was playing tricks on me then and will continue to do so now. But
If you think there's something they need to know, I will send word.
No, don't worry yourself. It's okay. That's quite all right. Let's just
All right, but if you
let's
change
keep
your
an eye
mind,
out.
always. Where in the south did you come from?
Oh, King's Landing. I was sent up here as a, an advisor. And my advice has gone on less than receiving ears, I'd say. But that is okay. I knew this would be a challenge.
Change takes time, and our family, well, the McNair family is not particularly partial to change, shall we say. Not many of us in the north are.
Right. Well, in the meantime, then, we'll just try to take care of each other and hope for the best, yeah?
Always. And if you change your mind, do tell me. And I'll
Of course,
send
of
word.
course. No, again. That'll be quite alright. Good night, then. And we'll begin to turn and walk.
Okay. So, as the night continues, you get some amount of rest and awaken in the morning to find that the storm, for the most part, has abated. There's a light drizzle out there, but really you're just dealing with the aftermath of a big storm, which is to say that it is soggy and wet and kind of not really flooded as such, but the ground is overloaded with water, so everywhere is a light puddle. As the guards break down the camp, take down the tents, and make sure that the horses are ready to go again today. You have 3 extra horses with you because Andrew and his 2 men did not take them with them, leaving yourselves, once again, somewhere in between your own territory and the Blackwoods, out here on the hill. What would you guys like to do?
Cicero is up at the first rays of dawn, adjusting the saddle on his horse, getting ready to leave, keeping to his word of as soon as they can move, he's going to, in order to get to the Blackwood lands. Okay.
So is Cicero going to be leading the expedition today, or is someone else going to take point?
Cicero will be at the head of it, but he's going to want Sir Cyril close by, riding pretty much next to him.
Okay. So, you guys presumably all mount up and set out once again with the 3 soldiers. Now, for clarity, are you headed in deeper into the woods to search for more scouts, or are you headed directly to Blackwood Hall, which is to say, take the main road and just try to get to their lands in time to be there for the tournament, which is happening later this week?
I think at this point, Cicero's banking on the assumption that the scouts have been either captured or killed. So the most direct way to find out is to go to the Blackwood lands, but that is up for discussion.
I guess, yeah, that's something that you probably discussed before.
Devin absolutely is on board with getting to the Blackwood lands and scoping it out, seeing what we're up against and what the layout is, and just finding out who's around, seeing what's there. There's information to be had before we have to get into this with them, and I'd rather have as much information as we can.
Okay.
Also, Devin is going to make a note of what Septon Birch told him. Just to have that information somewhere, just in case.
It's written down now.
To be passed along.
So, you'd be happy to know Cicero that Squire Reinhard is ready to go yet again, eager as ever, and has, if not mastered, but at least gained some kind of proficiency in staying atop his horse, which is certainly an improvement, at least for now. He hasn't broken his neck on the the first hour, or first leg of your journey. So he is by your side once again. And as you guys begin your travel, it's the first rays of sun after a storm are starting to hit you at dawn, so it's almost pleasant weather. And the squire says, "It's good weather, my lord. That must be a good sign, right?"
Boy, yes, it is a good sign that the weather is fair. The events from the night previous, we were lucky as to not have encountered a flood, which would have wiped out bridges, or potentially kept us in a small area in which we could have been ambushed. It is good that we continue to make our way forward, or if we stay too long, ambush can be set in. Boy, what has happened to the other 3 horses that were left behind?
I'm bringing them along, my lord. And he's like, he's got them in kind of tow behind him, almost like it's the equivalent of like riding of a caravan behind you on your car. It's like 3 horses in tow, and he's sort of trying to herd them, somewhat shepherd them, if you will.
Very well done, Squire. I was going to instruct you to do just that. You are slowly becoming more and more of a knight.
Thank you, sir. So, Cyril, do you think that the rest of the scouts, and he kind of leans in conspiratorially, as much as one can when on a horse with 3 horses behind you. Yeah, but it's Hollywood. So he leans in conspiratorially, and he says, "You think the other scouts are... You think they're dead too, my lord?"
Yes. Yes, I do. The one who had the defensive wounds and the arrows in the back of which we found was probably the sole survivor. One or maybe both could be tortured right now, starving to death, being broken upon a wheel. These are all things that happen to scouts and knights alike. I do not believe we will be seeing them again, but I could be wrong.
Do you think then, Cicero, it's wise that we go to Blackwood Hall if they're going to do the same thing to us?
You have forgotten, Squire. We have been invited to a tournament, which means at some point they will be expecting an official party. Scouts, on the other hand, are clearly not an official party. Small numbers moving off in through the woods, not on the main roads. It is most likely we have already been detected. Should we vary off the road, they might believe it as an act of war or espionage. It is safest that we play our cards carefully. We are here for a tournament. Although we have found the scout, this is information we will keep up here, not out here. Do you understand, boy?
Yes, Yes, Sir Cyril, I certainly do. I'm realizing now that Roynard is the crux for the audience that who are just joining in, and he's like, "But what's going on? Explain the situation to me." And then he's that character in every film. But he nods, and he's holds fast to his little sword and scabbard that he's got at his side, prepared for the worst, and sort of glares out into the woods as though there's something to be seen out there. So I would like for our friend Cicero to roll me a survival check, which is essentially how quickly can you make it to Blackwood Hall on horseback in this sort of terrain.
Oh, let me find that.
Yeah, it's on the right-hand side, rather, of your character sheet next to stealth and status. It's Roynard previously on. So Roynard just tells the updates each week. I think would be the way to go. So next time on War of the Roses, you won't believe what Sir Cyril does next. That's Seeker Man in Fantasy Grounds again for you.
Yeah, I'm having an issue finding the official number. I'm just looking through the book.
If you don't remember spending any points in it, you probably have 2, which is the I think the world average for every score is 2.
Yeah, we will just go with that then.
Okay, so 5. So it's the problem with the having gone off to the hill and being lost in the woods last night is that you've kind of lost the main sort of track, the main path up to the Blackwood Hall. So it's taking you a while to kind of get your bearings because these are lands that you probably haven't traversed quite as well before. However, something which is perhaps a welcome sight is at about midday, you guys will spot a tavern at a crossroads. Now, there are several, in fact, there are hundreds of sort of crossroad inns which are littered across Westeros, in particular the north. And this happens to be one of them, a sort of halfway house between every destination that you could go to, where there's a small stables, and you can see a stable boy with sandy hair is sort of cleaning up as you guys are passing along. It looks like this tavern would be large enough to hold a fair amount of people. And the squire kind of turns, waves a hand, and says, "Do you need a knight, my lords?" You clearly recognizing your banners that are flying and the colours that you're with. Got plenty of rooms and fresh pie as well.
Cicero kind of looks back at the group. At this point, they've been riding for about how long?
So this morning you've probably been running for like 6 hours. Plus last night's soggy, wet, miserable journey, which was again probably another 6 hours. So it's, rough, but this is not so long.
Yeah, Cicero turns to Sir Cyril and just says, "I think we'd better take a rest. Might cheer the men up a little bit as well."
It would be wise to regain our energy and let our horses rest as well. 6 hours long ride over rough terrain can be quite tiring for them. Should anything happen, we all, man and horse alike, need to be in tip-top shape.
I can look after your horses, my lord.
Cicero nods and kind of brings his horse over and dismounts. "What's your name?"
Tom.
"Nice to meet you, Tom. About how old does he look to be?"
Maybe 10 to 12 years old, yeah.
"How much experience has you had with horses, Tom?"
"Oh, plenty, my lord. There's an old nag round back. Sometimes my dad looks after that, or lets me. For an extra silver penny, I can feed it an apple."
Very good. He rifles through his coin purse and produces what he can to cover that. These aren't exactly old nags, and he looks back at the rest of the horses. Just be careful with them. They are a bit stronger.
Yes, my lord. You want to speak to my dad inside? He's got the pies. And the ale if you want some as well.
Birch pops up at the mention of pie, very happy. With this
And Devon pops up at the mention of ale, so, you know.
You and I
Yeah,
get along just
Tom-
fine, I believe.
So,
Yeah, little
yeah,
Tom's
dinner
going to take
party.
your horses. And there's this moment, there's this standoff between Squire Roynard and Tom. As Squire Roynard hands over the reins of the horses. And Squire Roynard says, "You best look after them. These are night horses." And Tom is like, "Certainly, my lordship." And sticks out his tongue, gives him one of these as he takes the horses and very flippantly goes to feed them some food. Squire Roynard looks like he may have been bested, but nonetheless, sort of
I
somewhat
sort of clap
crestfallen,
him on the
pops up his
back
chest.
as he walks over, and I'm like, "It's all right. We'll get it next time. It'll be fine."
I've got this. So you head inside to what is a pretty warm environment compared to the sogginess and chill of the road. There's a half inside, and thanks to us, Crimson Felix, 26 months, holy moly. And in fact, this is a viewer decision, that's awesome. So, this is a 2, so I'm going to give a wild magic set to Joseph Cicero. That's a D10,000, my friend. As you step into this, the magic of home, a salty race, and a magic scent of pie as well, definitely hits your nostrils as it's quiet in here. It's like, midday on a weekday, so there are like 2 regulars who are in here. They look like farmers who have come in to get a pint of ale to break up the day. And you also see a large, rotund, and heavily bearded gentleman who looks to be the bartender of this, and most likely Tom's father as well. And he's bringing out 2 hot and steaming pies as you guys enter. And he kind of looks up with a bit of a start. He doesn't look shocked to see you, but he seems surprised to see, what is clearly someone above his station and knights with swords entering his establishment. And he says, "My lord, sir," he looks at you like he's trying to remember the name. "You're Sir Brian's son, that's right?"
Aye. Cicero.
Cicero, that's the one. I know it is one of those older names. The name's Bale, my lord, and it's a pleasure to serve you. How can I get you for it? I hope Tom hasn't given you too much trouble.
No, he's a
he's a
good
devil.
young lad.
Maybe one of these days. You're not hiring, are you, Sir Knight? And he looks towards Cicero. Could do it for getting that boy off my lands.
I
Hey, Squire.
have a boy. Boy!
Yes,
He beckons
my
for the
lord.
boy.
And he steps forward with the most sort of
This-
knightly swagger he's in.
Is the boy. I am currently occupied with training one squire. Only one at a time. And I slap the squire heartily on the back. Might shoot him forward a few feet.
He kind of sets forward to be shown off. By the way, your wild magic, Sir Joseph, is that Cicero forgets how to use knives and blades of any kind. So I'm not going to use this in the sense that you don't know how to use a sword, but it's like those cramps that you mentioned before, and the blisters from like being gloved and in the wet and riding for 12 hours. Like your hands are really blistered, and so like if you've ever, I don't know, like perform some kind of activity with your hands, like I don't know, golfing, like for ages or something, where you've like got blisters on your hands, and then you pick up like cold steel, and you're like, oh, Oh, that just winces so bad. That's what Cicero's got going right now. Some serious chafing on the hands.
Picks up one of the knives at the tavern and is like, what is this?
Right. So I would like, in fact, because that is the 5th sub of the day, for us to have a viewer decision. And holy moly, Brian, what is it? Generous, evil, maybe a little bit of both. The other 3 players get wild magics plus the boy. Boy! Wild magics as well, which is, of course, the D10,000 roll for Devon, Septon, and Cyril. And I'll roll one for the boy here as well, because it seems only fitting. 667, holy shit, that was close to the devil's number. But more to the point, I want to get a viewer decision in here for you guys there in the chat. I'm going to ask you guys a question, you're going to provide me some answers, and then we'll vote on them. So, underneath this line here in chat, I would like you guys to tell me, who walks into the bar? Who walks into the bar? A knight, a squire, and a member of the watch walk into the bar. And we'll figure out what happens there. Let's look at these wild magics really quickly. So Cicero's already got his, but Squire Roynard can't use magic unless he is holding a buzzard's feather. I think that's true. I think that's probably true. Now, of course, there isn't really magic in our world as such, like we know it. But there's certainly street magic, and street performers are definitely a thing that happens at feasts and at tournaments as well. So I've got something coming up there for Squire Roynard, I think. Septon Birch. Septon Birch's magic. Your magic does not affect females for 1d4 days. Maybe the magic of religion. Septon Birch, maybe, I don't know, maybe have a way about you that scares women.
You're telling me that my religion is going to be ineffective for the next 1d4 days? Man, this really breaks my character.
Oh, fucking enough. Amazing. And then just Cyril with a 7717. So Cyril, your weapon makes you appear somehow less imposing. I wonder if maybe it's not your weapon so much, but I wonder if Squire Roynard, as your right-hand man, the Squire, probably lends an air of unprofessionalism about the whole, about you as well. He casts something of maybe a bit of embarrassment, but that's amazing. So you guys step into the bar. Bale is quick to inspect the boy and nods and says, "So you're gonna need rooms for the night? Ale? Pies? Pies are good. The ale's not so good."
We will gladly take some pie.
Cicero, as he's passing by, just kind of leans in close to him and says, "What do you put in the place?"
It's old Nessie. Pig I slaughtered yesterday.
You have anything that's not meat?
What do you mean?
Just
I've got some vegetables, I guess. Some cabbage.
That'll work well. If you do take special orders, I'd be much obliged to have one of those.
For the son of Sir Brian, I'll see what I can cook up, I guess.
I appreciate you, Bale.
Don't eat meat.
No, I don't like the taste.
Is this a new choice, or has this been a long time?
Quite old. Since I was about 10.
Good to know.
So you guys sit down at the the bar. A couple of the regulars kind of give you a grunt of nods. You guys brought ales, and eventually Bale will come out with some kind of like potato-based pie with gravy. It's fine, and it's warm and it's hearty. And for the rest of you, there's basically pork pies with hot gravy and some kind of wedge of bread and cheese that goes with that as well. Bale kind of puts his arms across the bar and says, Haven't seen any of your kind this way for a long time, my lord. You McNairs, that is. But I ask what business is bringing you here?
We've been invited to a tournament, the Blackwood House.
Oh, heard about that. Yes, lots of knights coming down this way lately, my lord. All hoping to get their chance of glory.
Offering.
4 wild magic vegan searches for Cicero. That's amazing. And you can click on the screen to vote as well for you guys in chat. The options are a scout, a bard, a knight, and a vegan. So feel free to for us. Oh, a combination of all the above. We'll get those wild magics rolled up here in a second. But he nods and says, "Oh yes, plenty of knights and the kind around. Plenty been stopping by for the night and the like, you know. Those Blackwoods have got it out for you McNairs real good, so I hear."
Do you know what other families have passed by here? Knights representing these other families coming in.
Oh, sure. You've got the Prices, the Dontars, the Boatwrights, the Cockshores, the Pit Whistles, the Fleisches, the Harclays, and now you McNairs. And he kind of rattles off this list of like the minor houses in the area, basically.
Sure.
Who live within like 100 leagues of you guys.
Actually, looking
Oh,
to
they're all sending their best.
Cyril Price is, and hearing the name Price of those, any relation to you, Sir Cyril?
I'm sure there are some within their number that I know. Boy! And I bellow for the boy to change the topic of conversation quite quickly.
Yes, Sir Price. That's the Cyril.
I hold up the cutlery and I say, "Shine these."
Yes, sir.
My
And he
cutlery, shine them.
He begins to shine them super fast until they are...
real quick, because first time playing this game, is there any way I can use my awareness with my empathy skill to kind of understand what that was all about?
Right, so awareness empathy is the insight check of A Song of Ice and Fire, basically. The cool thing is, even if you don't have the empathy like sub skill, you can still make an empathy check. You just don't get the bonus dice.
All right. Well, here is my awareness, and then here's my empathy. Never mind, there was just a 3 by itself because good at things. It's 3.
Can I throw an
pieces.
awareness in there as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so 10 total.
10 total, cool. And a 16. So, you have a... Let's go look up this sheet real quick. You have a intrigue defense score. So this is essentially a part of an intrigue, which is we're trying to gain information from either other NPCs or other players. So it's the equivalent of making like a deception check. You can, of course, make an opposed deception check if you would like to lie, so Cyril, if you would like to actively combat them, looking at you and trying to figure you out, or we base on your intrigue defense score, which is like your passive ability to lie. It's particularly low for Sir Cyril. It's an 8. So the DC for them to beat, they would both beat you in this. So normally we would make this decision first, but because we're just playing the game and learning how it works, we can give you the decision now. Whether you'd like to make a deception check to lie and try and combat their insight, or if you're happy to just sort of passively lie and not maybe being so aware that they're trying to figure you out.
I'll passively lie.
Okay, so both of them are going to be able to read you. So Septon, Birch, and Devon are both going to get a read on Cyril. What is the read that they get on you, Cyril?
That under no circumstances does he like to speak about his past. That things might be very foggy in his past. He might not be all the sum of his numbers.
Mm-hmm. It's a flicker of, I guess, like almost like a moment of indecision, and then a little moment of, oh man, I don't want these people to be looking at me, and then let's talk about the squire, as he deflects that pretty swiftly. Yeah. Okay, so at this point, Joseph, let's roll those 4 D10,000s. So you can go ahead and give those to me, and I'll see what happens to you. As the squire begins to set about, like, shining the the cutlery around here, and then you say him just to do all of the cutleries. Awesome. So that first one is 7557. Cicero, your voice sounds like a muted trumpet, which I think is accurate for a kind of Northern Irish accent. It's quite a muted. It is quite a muted tone, I think, which Cicero has. It's very kind of down here and low, like a muted trumpet. So your next one is your. Oh man, this is tough. You don't have to play this all the time, but your internal monologue becomes audible to others. Now, I think at times we can take that literally, where like you will just like say things out loud. And I think the other read on that is you're just easy to read. Like you wear your heart upon your sleeve. So like what you're thinking is very clear to what people, to other people when they're looking at you. And probably not a very a good liar, or maybe not as good a liar as you think that you are. Thirdly, when you next enter your home, it is totally refurbished. Hey, McNair Hall is gonna look sick the next time you come back. That's awesome.
Queer Eye, the McNair version.
Queer Eye Game of Thrones.
Queer Eye for the air guy. Yeah, man.
I like it.
You love it. Amazing. Can you believe? There's also just some like random avocados hanging around there for absolutely no good reason. And then last but not least, 1569 is you. Okay. You sprout wire and rubber tubing from your flesh. I'm gonna say the next wound that you get, when most likely Septon Birch goes to heal it, it's not an easy wound to heal. So it maybe it's even like maybe it's something that's happened in the past. Maybe like you fell, or like a hunting accident or something like that, and there's some kind of scarring or wounding, which is basically kind of like scar tissued. And there is some like like the wiring in there from the maester, or maybe from the Septon if he was the one to do it. It's still sort of somewhat embedded in that mess.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely works. That's good.
Cool. All right. So, as this happens, Bale will say, "So, are you looking to try your hand in any particular competition, my lord?"
Cicero is very obviously quite frightened now that his inner monologue is visible to all. He's frightened of the idea of going to a full-on tournament.
Right.
But yeah, he just says, I think I'd try my hand at a sword combat.
It's an honor to be one in that for sure. There is Crimson. There's another knight staying here right now. You might want to speak to him, my lord. He's quite the swordsman himself. Sir Broad Cockshaw. Travelled quite the way, but older knight now, but he's in a fair few fights himself. Staying upstairs. In fact, almost on cue, you hear the kind of groaning of the wooden steps as the clinking of armor, which is probably quite familiar to the group of you, as a knight kind of comes down. He's got the breastplate of a knight, but the paunch of a rich man, which is kind of coming out from his breastplate. You can tell that this guy has probably seen a fair few feasts, more than he's seen jousts recently. And he's got this kind of shock of white hair and a salt and pepper beard, and quite jowly as well. And he says, "Where is my pie? Boy!" And immediately you see Tom come running from outside. "Yes, yes, my lordship, my knightship, my knighthood ship." And Sir Broad Cockshaw says, "Boy, fetch me some pie! I'm hungry." And he kind of spots the group of you. "I know that insignia from anywhere. You must be Sir Brian's son. Sir Broad Cockshaw. Pleased to meet you."
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, and being as friendly as he can, but kind of shaking in his boots, Cicero extends a hand to Rod.
Yeah.
Rod
He kind of like clasps it very, quickly, and then sits down to grab an ale. "And you must be Sir Cyril."
Yes, I am. And I push myself back from the table and stand up and say, "I am Sir Cyril Price. This is my boy." And I slap forward the squire yet again.
They face off for a minute again, glaring at each other, and Broad kind of claps Tom round the back of the head and says, "Get away from that boy. Well, it's good to see you. Suppose you're here for the tourney as well. I myself will be trying my hand at the swordsmanship, as I have won a great deal of tournaments in my day. 5, in fact."
5 tournaments. And how many years ago were these tournaments? As I look down at his muffin top.
Yeah, it's hard to recall, but in the past decade or 3.
I see. And you are a knight?
Certainly I am. Yes, Sir Broad Cockshaw of House Cockshaw.
You are a knight of your own house?
Of course.
You do not serve a liege, a nobleman. You are a sellsword.
I prefer to be known as a hedge knight, if you will. I travel hither and thither, and bards tell the songs that I bring. Thanks so much to the school for that. A magic item to Septon Birch.
Nice.
So, you, Sir Cyril, have sold your sword in permanency to House McNair. How quaint! The barbarians turned knights. Is that not the tale? No offense, of course.
None personally taken. The house
Cicero's on
which
edge.
I serve is quite noble. I have enjoyed my company,
Devin
although
sort of
limited with them.
keeps an eye on Cicero. You don't need trouble here, so he's making sure that you don't get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, Sir Cockshaw, what songs do the bards sing of you?
Oh, there are many. There are many, and they are varied. Mostly good. Some not so good. About my romps with the ladies of the South and like. But well, we'll see how you fare in the melee. If I see you there, young McNair. Celio, wasn't it?
Cyril Price.
Cyril, and he points towards Cicero. Celio. Got it.
Afraid you're mistaken, it's Cicero.
My
Be a
God.
name you should remember.
By the odd gods, that's quite the name. Well,
Could say the same
good to
for
meet your
you.
acquaintance.
Could say the same for your name, sir. Never come across one quite like it.
Well, I am unique in many ways. But, you know, I have heard a rumor.
Am I getting anything off of him other than what he's...
You get, you read his arrogance and sort of fortunes faded from Subrod's living out his glory
it's pretty
day.
much what he's putting out there.
Right,
I'm not getting
He doesn't seem to have like a bone of duplicity in his body, really. But he says, you know, I have heard a rumor that those Blackwoods are out to get you, McNair. Is that still going on?
I haven't any idea what you're talking about. What exactly have you heard?
Oh, I heard there was some rivalry still going on, but I don't really often get this far west in my travels, you know? I suppose
see.
rumors abound, and there is often little to substantiate them.
Yes, I believe that would be the case. We have been invited to the tournament. A friendly rivalry. And Cyril shoots a look to his squire. Between the two households, we look forward to competing in honor.
Very good. Very good, and I suppose I'll see you there.
He kind of like has already downed his pie, and his ale, and
Time to train!
and
Boy!
he goes out into the yard, and he is lost. And Bale kind of comes over again. Yeah, I might have overestimated him a little bit.
Oh, he
Yeah.
seems like a worthy opponent.
Just a bit. Well, if that's the caliber we're going to be facing, maybe not so much trouble then. Yeah?
I personally am not worried about those who we are finding on the road. It is those who are within the walls. They
Now that's
are
a
probably the
conversation.
ones with the skilled swords. The Blackwoods will be looking to put down McNairs. This old, weathered knight past his prime. He is of no concern. Boy! And he shouts for the boy.
Panics so much he turns off his camera. Yes!
When you are facing an opponent of that girth, always attack the legs. The knees will be weak due to the weight. And he sits back down and begins to eat.
Yes, Cyril. Bale kind of leans over again, a little bit more sort of conspiratorially, and says, you know, I saw a couple of things last night in the storm.
What sort of things?
We see all kinds of folks coming around here, you know. But I see a fair amount. I'm often out late tending to the horses before Tom gets a chance to ruin them. Out just before the storm, and I saw two or three folks, hooded, cloaked, heading not far from here, into the woods. Had
Did you
bows
see
and
the
arrows
situ-
with them. I think they might have been your lads.
Oh,
Yeah, and then not so long after that, there was another band passing by. Didn't stop for long, but I always hear the canter of them. Always go around, posturing around Blackwoods. That Michael lad. He's bad news. They wasn't far after him. I reckon they might have gone into the woods as well, but can't say I stayed to look for long enough. Figured it might have been a hunting band, but it was far too late for that.
It was a hunt of sorts. Cicero not like nods his head, just visibly is like everyone's dead. That's the thought that's kind of going through his mind right now.
You know, his face sort of falls as he sees this as well. Oh. Well, hoping that nothing bad might happen at the tourney to y'all or to your family. Can't say I owe your father or yourself any allegiance, but seem like good folk. Is there anything I can do to help, then you can stop by any time. There's always a roof to be had over your head here.
We appreciate your hospitality. We hold the same wishes as you for fairness and honor. But I doubt that's what we're going to get.
You know, ever since that Valian lass, your sister, since you went missing, I thought the Blackwoods might have had a hand in it. No good folk they are.
Did you hear anything to substantiate this, or were these just idle thoughts that came to you?
A couple of lads, the Blackwood lads, they come down here on a weekend to let loose. I hear talk. I heard him boasting about how Michael might have gotten away with a lass who didn't say a name. But all sorts of tavern talk, you know. Drunk boast of what they might have been doing. I didn't get involved, mate. I know better than that.
A slight smirk just comes across Cicero's face.
Anyways, there's rooms upstairs if you want to stay the night, or if you're making your way on to Blackwood Hall, and best of luck to you.
I think we better rest.
Appreciate the hospitality, and we will we'll be back to perhaps after the tournament. Yeah?
Certainly.
If you could keep an ear out for any information, other rumors or whispers, it would be very helpful to us.
Wow.
They may have the ring of truth to them.
I keep my ear to the ground. Not much is true, but speaking's dangerous. Even what I've told you today could get me in some trouble. And I've got bills to pay, my lord. And he kind of gives you a look like, you know, this you could be bored.
We are
can he be
not
charmed
a house.
or convinced?
Sure, you could what's your argument?
That you know, the McNairs defend their own, and keeping them in the loop could be of value down the line to him and his establishment. So the McNairs don't give him trouble, and the Blackwoods do. So throwing that loyalty. And so it's going to be my my number plus however many I have, right?
Right, yeah, the bonus dice get removed and you just take the highest from all of them, basically.
Okay, so I've got a 4 in persuasion plus a bonus die.
Nice.
So I'm rolling 5 and then dropping 1. Is that right?
Yep.
And then I have
also, Cicero, you... Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, Cicero, you have 2 extra wild magics to roll. We can look those up here.
Alright, we'll do that right now.
Ooh.
Ouch. 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 12 because it's 11.
11, yeah, it dropped lowest, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Wait, no. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then plus 2 is 13.
Okay.
We get plus 2 from charismatic as well.
Okay, yeah. We'll get to that in just one sec. So, Cicero, your hair falls out and tiny spikes sprout all over his head. I'm going to say that you've got kind of early onset, baldness going on here. Probably you're starting to look more like your father. This may take the course of like a year or two to really set in. But yeah, it's not
the stress, man. It's getting to you.
Stress of leadership. Yeah, it's like when you ever get any kind of world leader, like the before and after pictures of when they serve their terms, and they're always like gray and haggard. Like that's
covered in spikes.
Covered in spikes, like Mad Max. It's apocalyptic.
See it all the time. It's
the chainsaw on their back. Yeah. Your head cannot be harmed by magical electricity. I was going to say that's magic in general. Any kind of like negative magical effect, which perhaps do exist in this world, don't affect your head so much because of the boldness it protects you.
Just always lead with your head, man. Just always lead with your head.
It just bounces off. So
it's great. That's great. So yes, your 13 persuasion is enough to persuade Bale to at least open up a little bit more, and looks furtively over towards Devon. Oh, you know what? All right, you lot have been good folk, despite whatever name you might have, or reputation folks will think of you. I think you lot are all right. If I hear anything, then I'll let you know.
We appreciate it.
We're a little ways out here. I don't have any ravens, so you'd have to stop by.
And we will. And we appreciate it. And any information you can give us is of value and won't be forgotten.
Well, I'll tell you this much for nothing. Those Blackwoods have got fighters and soldiers up there. Well armed, well trained. And they're mean as well. So I'd watch your backs.
That's true.
Alright. He's going to kind of nod to you again and just go back to his bar work.
Were the other soldiers around and close enough to hear the information that the scouts from last night and then Blackwoods took off after them?
Yeah, the bar is pretty small, and you get the sense that they've been leaning into a conversation a little bit.
Gotcha.
For any word about their friends. And you hear sort of like, a fist slammed into the table, sort of, son of a bitch, kind of thing. But not like screaming, shouting, just like under their breath, cursing. They're clearly angry.
Young Lord, does your decision remain steadfast? Still hold here? Straight to the Blackwoods, or does this change your mind at all?
Days until the competition. Where are we resting at?
I think we're at 4 or 5 days until the competition. At the end of today, it'll be 4 days left.
Okay.
But it's not uncommon to get there early. It would be commonplace to set up your camp and spend, 3 to 4 days drinking with the lords of the hall and becoming friends of the people there. It's a social event, really, a tournament. In fact, possibly to show up on the day would be considered rudeness. To just sort of turn up just for the funeral and to not partake in the lord's sort of welcoming.
Early is on time kind of thing.
Right. They're like weirdly formal but informal tournaments in Game of Thrones. So there's a certain amount of decorum which is expected of you for an event like this.
I will say the curiosity makes me impatient. I'd like to ride out now, but we do need all our wits about us when we get there. He turns to Sir Cyril. We do need our rest.
That we do. Speaking of that, then, we should probably begin turning into those rooms that have been provided upstairs.
Aye. Good night to you. I'll see you in the morning.
And to you.
Cicero trudges up the stairs. This news about the scouts has really dismayed him.
If so, for a little bit of character stuff, if you could bring evidence that the Blackwoods had murdered your scouts, then there would definitely be cause for calling on the major houses of the land. The house which you guys speak to is House Umber, and the Great John is the leader of that house. And it's basically a case of saying, you know how the peasants come and petition Sir Brian each day? Similarly, you could petition your major house and say, this is a grievance against us, and they have broken some kind of law, and we have proof of this, before things got nasty. Really.
Well, Devron has the sigil off of the fallen scout.
I do.
That's in any kind of... Yeah.
I mean, that's proof that the scout died. There are bandits all over the area. Very easy for them to say, well,
Right.
you guys were in our territory, bandits killed you. Not our fault. The arrows weren't tipped with any kind of insignia or anything like that,
Mm-hmm. Can't exactly go off the word of a barkeep either, so...
Right, it's all hearsay.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
I'll have to keep an eye out.
Devon, once everyone sort of settles in, will come knock on Cicero's door.
Cicero goes to the door. Who is it?
It's Devon.
Doesn't open it yet. Cicero stands back and pulls the door open. What do you need?
We need to make a plan.
Cicero just kind of looks around in the hall to see if anyone's out there.
Sorry, outside in the yard or just in the...
Just in the hallway that the bedrooms would be on.
Oh yeah, no, they're empty.
Okay. He just invites Devon into the room.
And Devon will come in.
Cicero sits and looks up at him. What do you have in mind?
Taking out Michael.
You mean to kill him?
I do.
And make it away with your own life?
Care less for my life than I do for his.
Unless we have a damn good plan to make sure that it is untraceable to us. Can't do it.
And that is why I'm here.
You better start planning then, unless we want a war. Has Cicero ever been to the Blackwood estate?
Perhaps once as a child. But your father's done well to sort of keep you away from them.
It's certainly larger than the
yeah,
than the
I mean,
McNair.
they probably have 10 times the wealth and resources of your house. They're
Gotcha.
bordering on becoming a middle ground powerful house rather than just a really minor house.
Okay.
Hence why so many people are coming to see them at this tournament.
I'm not familiar with the layout of the estate, or with how we could attempt an assassination of Michael. But if he was to be killed fairly, and just kind of throws the word fairly out there as loosely as it can be thrown, there should be no reason for anyone to contest it.
And how would we ensure the fairness of his death? Because frankly,
The only way
I'm
that
not concerned about fairness with him. Because he has no concern for fairness with others.
as much as I want him dead, as much as several people want him dead, they are powerful. If it is not considered fair by every other house there will be war. And we cannot afford that. We've already lost men. We can't lose our home. The only fair way to kill someone in a tournament is for the challenge to be to the death.
And can we do that? Can we survive
I mean,
it? Do we have anyone who's skilled enough to take him out? Because I never want to look in those eyes again. Ever.
I'd like to see the life extinguished from them too.
For some quick sort of world stuff and what you could do, like options here. So if there is some kind of challenge to your honor, you could throw down a gauntlet personally and demand that there be a trial, and he would then be able to demand trial by combat by the 7. In which case there is a 7-on-7 fight till the death, where it ends when either one of you or him would be killed. Very rare for that ever to be called, but that would be upon him. So you would say, "I have been challenged. We have a dispute, good sir," and it would then be him his option to choose trial by the 7. The other thing is that people do die in jousts in this world. You can quite easily break your neck from the force of the lance, dismounting you or just running into your neck. That's not uncommon for at any given tournament. You'd expect probably 1, maybe 2 deaths. The horses die a lot more by just being brained upon the lances, but it wouldn't be uncommon for someone to die during a joust. It would be very bad form for someone to die during the melee, but again, it's possible that mistakes happen. There's a certain amount of leeway there where they understand that mistakes happen, but it would be dishonorable to kill another man in a tournament melee, and it would be dishonor to kill a man by in a joust as well. The only really honorable way to kill someone in this world is like challenge them, I guess, and for them to demand some kind of trial by combat. Or you just poison them and then they're dead.
Which is doable.
Or assassinate them. Yeah.
We do have poison.
And the other thing is prove that he has committed some kind of crime against you. You could then take that to the Great John at House Umber, and then he would decide his fate. So if there's some kind of trial goes on there, the Great John could decide to kill him for whatever crime this was.
I mean, he won't. I want him dead. Do you want him taken down? Or do you want him dead? Because we could have options.
The only option that we can take is one that presents itself without any consequence to us. Taken down is a step closer to death. We can remove him from power. The public display of his dishonor.
Then we need to speak to the Great Khan.
Need evidence first. We have to make it through this tournament. Cicero kind of cocks his head.
And Devrin kicks out his leg and lifts up his pant leg. And he knocks on his leg and you hear it's hollow. We have evidence.
I know that what he did find you. But how can you prove that he did that?
Do you want to know the layout of his dungeons? Do you want to know every mole on his body? You want to know the knife he used? Whatever details they need, I can give.
I don't deny it's enough for me. But I worry. If we go before any lord with these accusations, and they don't believe them wholeheartedly, we'll be the ones who wind up dead. And the McNair house will fall, along with everyone in it, and all the lands that we hold. I don't want to diminish your struggle, but I want to make damn sure that when we get retribution for it, we get the whole lot of retribution.
We hold our home.
Our home is what we hold.
At that point, I want to
definitely.
Yeah, as Septon Birch. At some point, presumably, you're going to head to your room.
Yeah. Before I do want to flag down Cyril though.
Sure. Yeah.
And just kind of make a whispered comment to him, or at least a quiet one, and just kind of check in with him that the news tonight, well, the men are troubled once again. Can you keep them in line?
My brand of keeping men in line is slightly different than Cicero's. I would not have let those men break off. I did in fact draw my sword at the body. And now we are left with reports of potentially that band of men having lost their lives, thereby weakening our stance. These men who we are with, they are a trained force, and they will act accordingly. And if they do not, I will execute justice accordingly. I would rather have them fall by my hand than our enemies. They will stay in line, or they will die.
Extend your iron fist, but please try not to break them all.
I am sure, after the speech that Cicero gave, they will be staying in line. Emotions get the better of men.
Yes.
they should try to take the knightly virtues. Be humble. Wield a big stick, but speak softly, or you cannot hear the calls of others over your own voice. And with that, Cyril pushes back from the table, stands up, and says, "Boy!"
Yes, Sir Cyril.
Begin preparing my bedchamber.
Yes, my lord. Already done.
You recall how I like to have my sheets folded.
Oh, yes.
Have you checked for bed bugs?
I'll get right onto it.
Have you checked for fleas?
They're the same. I'll go look.
Fetch a second bedpan.
Yes, my lord. Runs and goes and gets it. The evening comes. The bed has been probably well gone over a couple of times now by Squire Royned. Septon Birch, as you step into your room, your bedchamber, you notice that something is slightly odd. There is something on your bed, and it appears to have it appears to be some statue, like a small little handheld statue, and it's propped up on your bed, and it is the statue of the mother, one of the seven, in a very beatific kind of pose, like hands held out in like supplicants. And next to it, in fact, in front of it, there is a rolled up piece of parchment which has been sealed, which looks to have been, delivered by some kind of raven. The statue, however, is far too large to have been carried by a raven.
He quickly looks back out into the hallway that he just came from, seeing if there's anybody there. I'm assuming there's nothing, and turns back, closes the door very quickly, and just kind of looks around the room before very slowly approaching the statue and the parchment, and kind of gives the statue a once-over, but then reaches his hand out, maybe trembling a bit, as he grabs the parchment and opens it.
It is a simple message, and it simply reads, "We know what you did."
Is there a hearth in the room? Or any kind of fireplace?
Yeah.
He rushes to it and throws the note in. Some sweat begins to pour down his forehead. He wipes it away quickly. Looks around again before slowly turning and just staring at the statue of the mother.
She's almost taunting you.
And walks towards it, picks it up, looks at it, examines it. Anything unique besides it being a mysterious statue in my room?
It doesn't look to be unique, other than that. It's certainly out of place here in the north, but it is probably of a set, and these are probably like hand-carved by someone, you would suspect. You don't know if that would be locally, unlikely somewhere this far, so it's traveled possibly as far as King's Landing.
Kind of looks at it for a second before that look of just like confusion, shock, frustration kind of turns to a bit of a grin. He kind of like taps it against his forehead, just kind of shaking his head before looking up towards the sky. Maybe you are catching up to me, huh? Sets the statue down next to his bed and begins to kind of just pace the room for a moment before eventually having a very terrible night of sleep.
Very nice. So the group of you rest at Bale's Crossroad Inn, and Tom looks to the horses. So when the next morning when you awaken, they are fed and ready for another day's ride. You would suspect that by midday today, you will reach Blackwood Hall and be within their grounds. As the morning comes, you hear the canter of horses rushing by, and you see the sigils and retinues of other knights who are arriving today as well at the tournament. Just watching this morning, you'd recognize several flags that Bale had mentioned of the boat rights. More of the cockshaws arrive, the pit whistles as well, and it seems like they're coming in, quite the large groups, like 20 or so. And that's not just like soldiers. There's maybe like 5 bodyguards plus servants who are here to, bring them food and wine and that kind of thing, and heralds and the like. So it's quite busy on the main road to Blackwood Hall this morning. What do you guys like to be doing this morning? Is there anything you'd like to do while at the Crossroad Inn before heading out?
Cicero just gives his thanks to Bale and throws as much extra coin as he can kind of spare in on the bill for the night. Still kind of keeping enough for whatever he might need to purchase while at the tournament, but it's just a little something.
Right, yeah, I know Bale is definitely very thankful for that. So Rod Cockshaw is also leaving today. He's not taking the boy with him. He doesn't actually have a boy. It's just that Tom was there and answered. So Rod Cockshaw is off this morning as well. Bale will thank you and wish you good luck. He hasn't heard anything overnight, but that's nothing to be a surprise of there. So I suppose the rest of you will meet Cicero back in the sort of courtyard, back with your horses, as several other parties and troops are making their way along the main road this morning. By the way, of note, no sign of Andoran and the 2 other soldiers yet. They didn't stop by here. As you could have asked Bale that, and he hasn't seen or heard anything from them.
Yeah,
just heading to the hall.
Would have gone. Yeah, I guess. Oof.
But
before Cyril leaves his room, from it could be heard from quite far away, yet another deafening bellow for the boy.
Yes, Cicero.
Cyril opens the door a crack and hands the unused secondary bedpan to the boy and says, "Fetch this fill of water and 4 clean rags," and closes the door and waits.
He comes and dutifully brings that to you.
When the knock is heard, Cicero opens the door, grabs the bedpan, grabs the rags, closes the door, and begins to remove his armor, and using the rags, very lightly bathed, but what could be seen are heavy scars across his chest and his back, more than what a normal warrior would have for battle wounds. He still has all his muscle. It's not all hooked up the way it should be, but he's still a strong and stout man. But this form of washing before going into battle is a ritual for him. He won't do this again until after, and since the tournament's coming up, he won't wash again. He throws the water out the window. He throws the rags into the hearth of his room and begins to place his armor back on and walk down to meet the rest of the group.
The group of you meet with Sir Cyril back down in the courtyard, still probably just getting the word from Bale that he hasn't heard anything from Mandarin.
How many banners have crossed while you have been waiting?
A handful.
He says to the group.
Yeah. There's been a handful out of character.
Have there been any of note? Any that we should be concerned of? Very well.
Cyril strides towards his horse and mounts.
Mm-hmm. There's been people, probably no one that you are familiar with enough. I don't think Cicero has any kind of real knowledge of like nightly tournaments and who's won which events. It's a little bit like esports or like actual sporting events, right? Like nowadays, like if you're into it, you know who the best players or the best teams are at the moment. But if you're not into it, it's like that one friend who just keeps going on about the Blue Jays that you just no idea. You're like, yeah, that sounds good. But this is pretty much the sport of the world at the moment in Westeros, at least, is nightly tournaments. So Cyril probably is up to date on like who just won the last major leagues and who just won the last tournaments and the like. But Cicero and the rest of the party probably aren't up to that because it's not really their wheelhouse of anything that you probably care about too much. It really is its own art form. So you said along the way, and it's almost impossible to get lost at this point, getting towards the hold, because it's just a main road and everyone is heading down there. Along the way, you'll meet entertainers and you'll meet jugglers, street magicians, and the like, and performers of all kinds from across Westeros. There is even a band who claim to be from Dawn, which is all the way down to the south, who are jugglers and knife jugglers. And there's a brigade of them who are marching along the way and singing as they go. Then, of course, there are the groups of knights who are traveling. As mentioned before, there is Sir Kevin Pitwhistle. Sir Kevin Pitwhistle and his retinue are here as well. Sir Manrel Feish is also an appearance. Of course, Sir Brod Cockshaw. Sir Dallin Boatwright is here as well. He is a sworn knight to House Boatwright. And many others. There are, I could go ahead and name them all, but there's far too many, and they're not actually too important to know all of them. But there are 10 to 12 knights that you'll meet along the road who are just making their way to Blackwood Hall today. Meaning that this event is going to be pretty big. Your normal joust on like a royal level could see as many as 100 lances being tipped. This event is probably going to rival that. Maybe about 50 knights could show up to an event like this. It's not only the knights of sworn houses, it's also all of the hedge knights in the area all come to this, because they are basically freelancers, and this is an open submission. So like, if you are a knight, you can joust, you can shoot, you can fight in the melee. And it's pretty much the only opportunity to win coin, aside from being hired on by a lord. This is also an opportunity to find gainful employment if you are a knight or a hedge knight, because if you perform well, then you may impress a lord or a lady so far that they would enter you into their service. And of course, there are just the peasants, the common folk are out in droves for these events. This is the bread and games of Game of Thrones. And whilst it is a blood sport, there is that kind of sportsman-like, you need to know the teams and who's good at the joust and who tips their lance at the last second, and who do they always leave their flank exposed in the melee. So there's quite the gamesmanship going on for the peasants and the common folk who have recognized names and titles and the like around here. Whilst some of these knights are getting quite the amount of attention entering into the territories, you yourselves go fairly inconspicuously, if not treated with some kind of disdain, some amount of disdain. You are seen as outsiders and outliers. People aren't throwing food at you and the like, but they're clearly not interested in who you are because you haven't really proved yourselves, or if they do recognize your name as the McNairs, your name does not carry with it great renown and respect, at least among common folk. So as you enter into the territories, going through the various villages and hamlets, more and more common folk and peasants sort of pick up behind you and the group of knights, as they realize that the events are starting to happen and you can come and get food, which is another big appeal of these tournaments, is that the lords and the ladies are basically putting on food for everyone, in such that food is available. Not necessarily that it's just going to be free if you're a peasant, but there's some amount of free food and drink that's going around. So by the time that you get to Blackwood Hall, you have quite the retinue sort of following along behind you and with you. There's quite a large crowd, several hundred peasants are here to see the knights enter into Blackwood Hall for the first time. And Blackwood Hall itself is quite the imposing citadel. Now, you've heard of the Dreadfort, which is the Boltons' ancestral home, maybe even of Harrenhal, which is another imposing fortress. This is much smaller, larger than McNair Hall, and not a Mott and Bailey kind of construction as you have. This is stone. It's actually a small castle in terms of the game. The Blackwoods have a small castle holding. This castle has been built upon, and the town extends out into that. The walls are manned by the garrison and the troops of House Blackwood, who cast glares down at those who are entering into their territories. You can see that the Blackwood banner, which is the black tree on a white background, is flying high above the castle, meaning that the Blackwoods are in residence, that the Lord and Lady are here. And it's fairly imposing. Kind of like dark stone, well built, kind of on top of a hill. For Sir Cyril, who's probably, if not taken keeps before, then certainly has a good understanding of how castles and keeps are taken in battle. This would be a very difficult fortress to take. It's well situated, and it looks like well defended as well. Just entering in, giving a cursory look along the walls, they are well manned, well armed and armored as well. They clearly have a good blacksmith, or they have enough money and wealth to buy decent armor and the like. However, also among the town of Blackwood itself, as you enter into it, you will notice the kinds who look more brigandy than others. They are not wearing the heraldry of House Blackwood. Instead, these bands that are roving around, maybe 5 to 6 of them at any time, they are armed as well, and armored. Less well than the troops the garrison hold of House Blackwood. They are clearly allowed to be here in some form of official sense. You're not sure what group they are attributed to. Perhaps these are mercenaries or sellswords from the area. Perhaps they are just brigands that have been hired to help host this event as extra protection. But certainly they are not House Blackwood men that are roaming around here. And you'll spot the fair amount of bands of those seemingly going unchecked. But as you enter into the town, it's a bit like walking into a carnival, in that the street performers are setting up shop. There's ale flowing around. There are bards performing, and quite the amount of entertainment which is happening right now. Plenty of distractions for the common folk as the knights enter. You guys have stopped as the other knights have sort of gone ahead and have gone up to the hall itself, which is presumably where you are to go as well to make your introductions to the Blackwoods. But you've, stopped you here as you guys get a chance to look around and get a feel for what Blackwood Hall is. You're clearly being watched as well. That much is obvious to you as you step in. What would you guys like to do?
Cicero is riding up to the gate. So as far as the situation for introductions goes, the royal family is standing at the gate or above the gate.
So they're not technically royal, but the lord and lady would be up at the hall itself. So that's the keep, I suppose, which is like higher on the hill. So you guys have entered in down the bottom, and it kind of winds its way up over the course of the hill to the top where the keep would be, which is through a portcullis, which is currently open, and presumably that's where like the hall is, where you're greeted by the lord and lady. But you guys are like just through the gates, basically getting spurious glares from House Blackwood.
Cicero keeps his chin up, although since his internal dialogue is pretty out there at this point, he's like got some tics going on, like his foot is tapping in the stirrup, his hand is kind of like gripping, tightening around the reins. If you watch his body language, you can see that he's pretty jumpy at this point, but trying his best to maintain a regal and firm posture.
He's not the only one. This is not at all where Devon wants to be. Devon is in the belly of the beast right now, and if anything, I may go kind of sneak off on my own to try and find places where I can not be observed.
There are like open bars and which spilling out into the street because there are so many people in them, so it's very easy to get lost in a crowd.
That's what I will do, and I do well.
All right, so Devon pretty much excuses himself and steps.
I'll be near everybody, that if something were to go down, I'm on hand, but I am not wanting to be associated with anything right now. Anyone or anything.
Septon Birch is trying to look very into all of this. He's supposed to be the tournament advisor, essentially. That was how he convinced Lord Brian to be here. So he is very much trying to point things out, like, yes, and the free food here. One of the only places you'll see the nobles and the peasantry knocking beers back together. Quite a sight, is it not? And this, that he's very just trying to prove his worth right now.
He's like the tour guide on your left. You
exactly.
Guys see this? Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I think Cicero, you're pretty going to quickly get a read that Cicero is nervous as hell.
Oh yeah. And what is our riding order in relation to where Septon Birch is to me right now? Is he behind me? Because I would imagine I'm beside Cicero.
So I think when he's going into tour guide mode, he tries to catch up to be right next to Cicero to kind of be in the forefront and prove he knows what he's doing. So maybe on the opposite side of where you're riding.
Mm. So Cyril looks to his side and locks eyes with Septon Birch and says, "Perhaps maybe we should find out where we are going to make camp and who to notify that we are here before we begin a tour of the city. Would you not agree, Cicero?"
Sounds like a fair idea. just kind of going along with whatever is proposed to him at this point.
There is a decorum to grand tournaments. If we were found within the walls without making ourselves known, to thank the nobility for hosting the tournament and finding where we can pitch our tents, it might seem rude. Shooting a look back over to September.
Oh, but it's the boys first. And I'm assuming he catches the, like, iron fist eyes coming at him. Just like, yes, Sir Cyril is correct here. We should follow decorum, as he says. Yes. My apologies. And Septon Birch will kind of very slowly, like, kind of retreat back a little bit.
All right.
Get out of eye shot.
So you guys are gonna head up to the keep to introduce yourselves through the portcullis. Okay. So you guide your horses up there, again taking in the sense of the festival of cooked meats, of fire dancers, and of course that low level of sort of manure from just the common folk and the horses in the area and the like, and head your way up towards keep. The keep itself is perhaps even more fortified than the walls itself. You would have a hard task indeed, taking down something like this without some heavy siege equipment, and they probably have stocks to hold them there for a long time. In the case that was a protracted siege. Again, dagger glances are thrown down at you from the guards along the wall. They're not so rude as to kind of, who goes there? You, because they can see your banners, but like, they're not far from being like, who the hell are you guys? You get that sense, that perceived threat is quite clearly there, that you are not welcome here. However, by the time that you get up here and through the crowds, it seems like some of the other knights and lords have already introduced themselves, or have already entered into this sort of main courtyard. And of course, there he is. As soon as you step inside, you spot Michael Blackwood. Tall, lithe, pallid, pale eye, uncaring eyes staring back at you. A sword along his hip and fine dark armor. He looks like the villain from A Knight's Tale, but super pasty and pale right now. And he has his retinue behind him. Behind him as well are the doors to the keep itself, where presumably Lord Ulrich and Lady Karena Blackwood are. You see other knights entering in. But before you get there, of course, you hear a, well. Look who decided to turn up. Lord Cimero, McNair and his friends. How delightful of you to join us, Blackwood Hall.
Cicero's voice shakes a little bit at first, and just, it's Cicero, actually. And, well, the McNair House is always one to respect the validity of an invitation, whether or not it's given.
So very kind of you to be joining us, then. Which competitions will we be seeing you partake in, my lord?
Well, I reckon I'm pretty damn good with a sword. Maybe not one such as you're carrying.
You then intend to enter only into the melee? You will not meet me in the joust?
I'd be interested to see your skills on horseback versus mine. Besides, I've got Sir Cyril here. He's the one you should really be afraid of.
Oh, yes. Surprise! I think there are some friends of yours inside, Sir Cyril.
Ah, of course. Other bands of knights, I'm sure, have flocked towards this grand tournament. Who might be inside?
Oh, you know. Some pit whistles here, some prices there.
I see. Some prices, you say? I will look forward to seeing them.
I'm sure you will. Well, Cicero, hopefully you are good enough at that swords. I will be entering into the melee as well then. Perhaps we will meet each other there and see if you are truly a master at swordsmanship. What was the name of your master of swords again? Adarin?
Cicero's
He wasn't
jaw.
so good.
Ooh, Cicero's jaw flinches, and he just does not say anything, just stares back at Michael.
Hopefully you're better than him, because my, think that they know something being called a master at swords, wouldn't you? Shame. Well, hopefully you'll have a lovely stay here. If you need anything, do stop by. I'll be seeing you in the joust and in grand melee, Lord Cicero. And he and his lackeys slope off again.
Cicero just kind of under his under his breath, kind of more to Sir Cyril than anything. Says, "I swear to God, I'm gonna put my fucking sword between his eyes."
It's best to place the sword there, then look like you wish to do so. You must always wear a mask, especially when dealing with Blackwoods. Notice how, when I have been speaking about our reason for being here, I'm always speaking that we are here to engage in the noble tournament. Suppress your anger, and think about the task at hand. If you play your cards on your sleeve, they will surely outplay you.
Well advised. I thank you. And with that, he kind of stirrups his horse and goes off to find where Septon Birch has decided to make camp.
Where is the birch? Where is the birch? Where is the Septon at this point?
The tree.
Yes, it's lovely. So a birch tree. Has he gone in through like the doors into like the hall itself, or is he mingling elsewhere?
No, I think he's gone in through the doors. I think he is going to be of the assumption that because he is a Septon, because he is sent from King's Landing, there is some sort of safety afforded him that might not be afforded the other McNair clan. Because, I mean, he is on a mission from the Great Sept. He is sent by the Great Sept of Baelor, so I think he has gone inside to scout ahead and to kind of avoid some of that awkward tension that was going on with Michael.
Right. So Cicero, you can spot him and hail Septon Birch.
Yeah, Cicero walks up and he's still, like, his jaw is damn near, like, it looks like it could snap. It's just, he is very tightly wound.
I believe I have secured our lodging. Is everything okay, young lord? You look very troubled.
I look forward to meeting Sir Michael on the battlefield, let me put it that way. This tournament should prove to be very interesting indeed. Let's get our camp set up. Once again, we need rest. This is going to be a lot more stressful than I figured.
Okay. This way, then. And we'll kind of lead them to, after he's been chatting to people, hopefully getting some idea of where they should be going now.
Right, yeah. The guards that are with you, the other soldiers, will like begin to pitch their tents so you guys don't have to. And you are ushered by a kind of herald into the hall to meet with Lord and Lady Blackwood, who are, ready to meet you. Are the whole party going inside? If not, who's staying behind?
I'll kind of come back over towards Cicero and Do you want me with you or not?
Cicero gives it a moment of thought and just think it's best if you stay outside. It'd be a bit odd to bring the member of the Night's Watch deserted in with us. You'd blend in out here.
I don't have to be a member of the Night's Watch if you don't want me to be. Might be a bit easier.
Figure out whatever you think would fit in best in this environment.
Do you think there's any chance that any of our people are being held here?
I have no doubt that they're being held here. What I do question is whether they're alive or not.
Do you want me to show you where they are?
Sometime soon. We do need to display some semblance of honor and decency to the Blackwoods. Hopefully we'll set an example for them.
Have fun with that. And Devon walks off.
Mm-hmm. There's a herald that says, "My lord, please! Lord and Lady Blackwood are waiting! Will you be accompanied by anyone, my lord?"
Cicero motions to Sir Cyril. Would you do me the honor of accompanying me? And like the word accompany very much is just given as guard.
Cyril looks at him for a moment and then glances over at the squire and says, "The boy will accompany you." And grabs the squire and throws him towards Cicero.
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, yes, of course, my lord, absolutely, anything." And this is a great honor for him.
You will be fine.
Cicero,
no harm will come to you while you are in that banquet. The boy will watch over your shoulder. If something were to go wrong, he can easily sneak out as he is small and will be of no consequence. We'll need someone outside.
I'll do my best, my lord.
I suppose that's all I can ask for then. Cicero kind of gives Sir Cyril a frown, but an understanding nod as well, and turns with the boy at his side and walks into the hall. Hooray!
Hooray! Nothing like walking into the belly of the beast of your enemies. Always fun.
You got the boy. You're good.
Good. As you step towards the dark halls of Blackwood Hall with your companions in tow, Michael Blackwood's jabs, and jaunts, and frets heavy on your mind. That's where we're going to end tonight's episode of Game of Thrones. War of the Roses. Oh! Woo! Well, my friends. It's, the plot, it thickens like a fine stew, or a fine pie, perhaps, from Mr. Bale. But that's where we're going to end it for tonight. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed tonight's show. If you did, let us know there in chat. And stick around with us. In just a second here, we're going to give away another set of dice for you wonderful people for being so lovely and watching our show tonight. But let's go around. What did we think of tonight's show? Did we enjoy ourselves? Where can we find you guys online? Jen, how was that? What's your reaction to tonight's episode?
That was really fun. I'm psyched to see how this goes down. I want to bring those Blackwoods down so badly. I am on Twitter. I am at DreamWisp. On Twitch, I am DreamWispGen. And yeah, this is a blast. Yeah, we're getting into it, and it's really, really fun. So.
I'm psyched for the next episode. Dungeon delving in Game of Thrones is going to be fun. Great stuff. Awesome. And yeah, Joseph, how was that, my friend?
Oh man, yeah. No, if like this is one of the things that stresses me out most in life is just creating these fictional characters and then figuring out what the hell to do with them in these situations. But no, it's always fun. It's a good kind of stress. It's very cathartic because, you know, how often do you get to stroll into the house of your enemy with the intention to kill them? So my name's Joseph. You can find me on Twitter at JosephIsNotFast, stressing out about D&D and Game of Thrones.
Fantastic stuff. And Steel, how was that, my friend?
It was interesting. I thought some cats were going to come out of bags at a couple of points. The banquet sounds terrifying to Cyril. There's no way he was walking in there, so the boy was immediately just a sacrifice. But yeah, it's interesting. I want to see what's going to happen. And you can find me at on Twitch at SteelRain27, on Twitter it's SteelRain27CDN, and yeah, I stream on Twitch at the moment. It's like 7 days a week, so it's pretty easy to find out where I am.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Bird vs. Plane. How was that, my friend?
That was fantastic. This was such a fun session for all the little things that are going to blow up into bigger things between Devin and Cicero's scene and Cyril's family name being some stuff going on. I'm just very excited to keep playing this game. That was really, really fantastic. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Bird vs. Plane and follow all the myriad of things I do at one of those places. Yeah. I want to do this some more.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy moly. Well, my friends, we're going to head out here in just a second, but thank you again. Fantastic job for the cast and crew. Thank you guys for coming to watch. Stick around in a second here. I'll do the giveaway, and then we'll go host and rate a friend of ours. But until then, my friends, try not to roll too many nat ones, because we want to be here laughing when you do. Good night, everybody. Bye!